This is Truth in Media. I'm Ben Swann, and today, the Gates Foundation. It has been one of the most influential foundations in the world when it comes to the coronavirus, but maybe not for the reasons that most people think. Consider the fact that every major projection about how many people would die from the coronavirus has been wrong, and not just a little wrong, has been fantastically wrong, to the degree that most people would look at this and say, in fact, as I've been telling you, the coronavirus is no more deadly than the seasonal flu. Well, meanwhile, over in Sweden, it's an entirely different story because they are the one country that refused to apply these incredibly wrong models from these medical institutions. And instead, Sweden applied its own medical model, refusing to have mandatory lockdowns, refusing to shut down the economy and destroy the economy, and applying only voluntary social distancing. Well, now, as of April 22nd, the chief health minister for Sweden has announced that the country is only weeks away from herd immunity in the capital city of Stockholm. What Sweden decided to do and was criticized by the rest of the world is working. So how did our models get it so wrong? And they've come from more than one organization, or have they? How much has the Gates Foundation influenced those organizations that made those terribly wrong predictions? All of it today on Truth in Media. Well, welcome to the show. So much to get to today when it comes to the coronavirus, and specifically these projections that were so completely wrong about how severe the coronavirus would be, more importantly, how deadly it would be. And this is a very important question. And the reason for that is because there were essentially two medical institutions, if you will, that made projections about the death rate associated with the coronavirus. And those projections steered the decisions not just of politicians and leaders in the United States, but around the entire world. It is the reason that after 6 weeks, much of the world remains under lockdown. It was because of projections that were made of tens of millions of people dying. In fact, those projections claimed that here in the United States, as many as 2 million people would die from the coronavirus, and that's if we did nothing. And with social distancing, even if social distancing took place, we would still see over 200,000 people die as a result. Now, here we are 6 weeks into this. We know that there are 40,000 deaths attributed to the coronavirus, but those numbers are so flawed in so many ways. We're going to get to that in a few minutes. Let's talk first about these institutions. So there are two institutions, as I said, that essentially were the ones coming out and saying that there were enormous risks associated with the coronavirus. The first one is the IHME, the Institute for Health Metrics Evaluation, out of the University of Washington in Seattle. Now, taking that study and also one done by the Imperial College of London, so it's not even here in the US, the Imperial College of London insisted that over 200,000 people would die in the United States, and up to, if we did nothing, 2 million people would die as a result of the coronavirus. These numbers were completely flawed. They were completely wrong. How wrong were they? Well, April 2nd is when these initial claims were made. By April 5th, and then again on April 8th, both the IHME and the Imperial College of London actually significantly lowered not only their death count and what they predicted the death count would be, they also reduced the number of hospital beds that would be necessary and the number of ventilators that would be necessary. Why? Because the numbers were completely wrong. And when they saw that the numbers were completely wrong, they were able to go back and adjust so that they wouldn't look like they were completely wrong, and yet the effect of what they had said was already in place. Because even as the numbers were corrected, policies were not corrected. The Trump administration did not change their policies. States' governors did not change their policies. Mayors of cities did not change their policies because all of it was still based on the model that claimed 200,000 people would die. Now, what do these two institutions have in common? Well, it might sound conspiratorial, but you need to follow the money. Who is funding the IHME and who is funding the Imperial College of London? And the answer for both those institutes is the same: the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The IHME was actually launched in June of 2007, and it was launched based on a core grant of $105 million, primarily funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Then in 2017, the Gates Foundation actually came back and funded almost 3 times that amount to keep the IHME moving forward. Again, in 2017, the Gates Foundation provided the IHME with another $279 million grant. In addition to that, the Imperial College of London has also been receiving tens of millions of dollars in grants from the Gates Foundation, and $14.5 million from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in support of efforts to improve and expand access to healthcare in developing countries. Again, listen, there's nothing wrong with the Gates Foundation putting money into these institutes. What matters is whether or not the funding flowing into those organizations is skewing science, and whether or not the predictions they're making are science-based predictions or politically based predictions. So why do all of this? Well, Gates himself has said that the only way to get back to normal from this pandemic, which, as the numbers continue to come in, does not appear to be a pandemic at all, is if there is a global vaccine created and mandated for all populations around the world. That's what Gates is ultimately saying. It's what the IHME is saying. It's what the Imperial College in London is saying. Over and over, these organizations and the cronies of Bill Gates, people like Dr. Anthony Fauci, keep stating that the only way we get back to normal is if there is a global vaccine. And it's Gates himself who has invested in 7 different companies working to create that vaccine. And so what does all of this mean? Well, it simply means this, that in the moment when so many Americans, as I mentioned, 26 million Americans find themselves unemployed, when you have business owners who don't even know if they're going to be able to reopen again, when so many people's lives are being dramatically and severely impacted by this virus, and it's not even the virus that's severely impacting most people, it's the politicians' response to the virus that is significantly impacting people. As that is happening, we have to ask the question, are the decisions that are being made based on science or based on politics? Are the institutions that are being given credit as being authoritative basing their data on science or on politics? When companies like YouTube say that they will ban any video that contradicts the WHO, are they acting in the name of science or of politics? And when a politician decides that skewed numbers, made up statistics, bad information, and projections that are flat out wrong can be used to guide your life in a way over which you have no power, well, in that case, government has gone too far. Guys, thanks for watching. That's our report for today. We'll have much more. Continue to follow this. I know you will too. Continue to follow me on social media, and we'll see you next time.